What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, aka Spoiler Alert, episode 746, where we review the past week's comics as well as talk about some fun pop culture topics for your listening and viewing pleasure. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo, owner of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA, a rad-ass shop for all nerds of all shapes and sizes, except jerks. No jerks allowed. Most people have been kind of cool with the man. You know, we're still masking up for the customers. We have a BB, a little BB boy, and also the cases are on the rise. But mostly, everyone's been kind of chill. We give out free masks if they don't have one. There's been a couple of people who are like harumphed their way out the door, but they're jerks, so they didn't stick around. This is the part where I write anything in the script, and JD reads it. Skeetle daddle, you little skipper skid, toodle doo bum, fun times forever, amen. With me this morning are people of which I am mildly fond. First up is Brian Lieb. Brian, who is your favorite Marvel villain and why?
Oh, favorite Marvel villain? That's a good question. The name that jumps first to mind is Kang the Conqueror. He's a time travel guy. He's got a council of him. That's cool. It doesn't always work out well for the Kangs, but whatever. That's pretty sweet. And yeah, that's my first thought. The High Evolutionary, I don't think is a villain. Hey, it's the baby. What's happening?
Is my baby your favorite Marvel villain?
I hope not.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Okay, let's see. Next up is the dashing, debonair, delightful, dedicated, delicious guy. It's Len, the bad dribble. Len, same question, favorite Marvel villain, but wrong answers only.
Oh, wrong answers?
Who would
then
know?
my favorite not Marvel villain is just, which is the way I'm taking that would be then
Typeface.
no, it wouldn't be typeface. It would be what's that shark woman, that killer whale villain of
Orca?
Batman. Yeah. Because I just think that's a lazy name for a villain, and I think that it's just a boring villain. So yes, that's my favorite not Marvel villain.
That was so wrong in so many ways. It was every angle of wrong.
Last and rightfully so, Noel. Anyway, thank you for joining everyone on Facebook.
What's your favorite Marvel villain?
I wrote the question. I figured it was unfair.
Right.
I don't have one. Yeah.
Wrong
answers.
Go ahead.
No, I wrong answers only was it was a really good interpretation. That's all. Go ahead.
The joy of doing this live is having you all in the chat. So pipe up if you feel so inclined, and we may comment live during the show on the thing that you have just previously piped up about. Before we get into the comics, we've got letters.
We got letters.
Letters.
We've got lots
Oh,
and
we've got lots and lots of letters and letters and lots of them.
Lots of letters.
End scene.
All right. This is from Christopher Goodnight. It's called Old. I need you all to go waste $12 to $15 on the movie Old so I can have a discussion with someone who has seen the movie. For anyone who doesn't know, because I had to look this up. I was like, what is he talking about?
Oh, you don't know the movie. Okay.
M. Night Shyamalan. And by the way, can we put a moratorium on comically fucking up this guy's name? M. Night Shyamalan. You have to do the Shyamalama ding dong, the Shyamalama little diddle. Like, just relax about it. It's been 20 years.
That's still a thing.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
JD, you make fun of everybody's name.
But not Shyamalama ding dongs.
But not people whose names might usually be made fun of.
JD destroys normal words.
Regular names.
Like
regular names. Regular names to his experience.
Or he'll add like a weird skedaddle in the middle of a name.
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
it's not mispronouncing the issue. I think it's just
It's just being annoying.
a compulsion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Being nice.
compulsion. It is.
All right.
R.A.J. Arthur
Rajathor?
Rajathor says hello. Hello.
Chime in with the pronunciation of your name if you like. Rajathor.
Oh, look, my son is upset.
Rajathur.
Oh. Hey.
Anyway, so Old is a movie by M.
Can't
Night
hear
Shyamalan, where I guess people wake up on a beach and then they age fast.
Right.
That's all I know about the movie. I haven't seen it. I'm one of those people who keeps wanting M. Night Shyamalan to make good movies, and sometimes it doesn't.
How's that working out? Yeah.
Right.
I saw the
Everyone else seen
trailer.
Old?
I know that I'm never going to see it, so I actually read about it. I don't
I'm
care
definitely gonna see it.
about enjoying the twist. I actually just read about it.
I did the exact same thing. I was
Yeah.
like, I kind of want to know what the twist is, but I'm not watching that movie. Let's just find out. what
Yeah,
the
I
twist
mean,
is.
yeah, fool me 12 times, and I'm not going to keep seeing your movies. I'll get there with Zack Snyder eventually, but I'm definitely already there with M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, I'm there with Zack Snyder. I didn't even bother with Army of the Dead.
I did, only because it keeps being a part of the conversation. M. Night Shyamalan movies usually don't have that much weight.
Although, I mean, Unbreakable is still in my top favorite movies. It's a great movie, and it's just been a long time. It's a twist every time, and so you're just kind of like, what's the twist? And then, I haven't seen one in so long that I can't comment on any of the recent ones.
I still love The Sixth Sense. I love
Yeah.
Unbreakable.
Yeah.
I love the one
I even like
Swing
Signs.
Swing Away.
Signs. That was fine.
Yeah,
I liked
Signs.
The Village.
I liked that
I thought
one.
The Village was enjoyable. Not a lot of people did.
You mean the fake Skeksis? Yeah.
What? I don't know
The
that.
weird thing about that movie, and there's no reason for this to have happened, is when I saw the trailer for The Village,
Mm-hmm.
I called the twist. Like in the theater when I first saw the trailer, and then when I saw the movie, I was mad that I knew the twist.
I'll tell you what, JD, when I saw the trailer for The Sixth Sense, I was like, oh, Ghost Detective, cool. That's going to be a cool movie. I have no idea why I thought that. I just thought that's what that movie was about. And then I saw it, and it was. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
Len, how do you feel about M. Night Shyamalan's movies?
I like a few of them. I like a couple of them that people don't like. Like I like you, a couple of you guys. I like The Village. I thought
cool.
The Village was interesting. I actually like what's the one with the fairy
Say
tale?
Happening.
Lady in the Water?
Lady
Lady in the Water.
Oh,
I like.
never got around to that. It
Yeah,
looked cool,
I
though.
actually,
oof.
when I saw it, I really, really liked it. I've recently watched it in the last like 2 or 3 years, and then I think I saw what other people were bitching about because it's so super on the nose, but it's intently on the nose. So you're like, is that good or bad?
I didn't care. I liked it. I thought it was cute, and I liked the acting in it, so I enjoyed
I'm gonna
it.
put it on the list.
But then The Happening happened, and I was like, oh god. And
Killer Air, man.
And as much as I like Unbreakable, I'm like every other superhero guy. When you see Unbreakable, you loved Unbreakable.
Yeah.
The second time you see Unbreakable, you still love Unbreakable.
His name was
After-
Mr. Glass, Lim.
After that, Unbreakable actually, while it's still not a bad movie, I don't enjoy it as much because, and I felt this when I first saw it, it's too damn slow. The movie is just so slow. And I'm like, yo, and M. Night has a way of doing that because I felt that with Split. I felt that with what's the one that had all three of them?
Glass.
Glass. I thought Glass was slow. Glass was boring. Glass ended stupid.
Everything about Glass was stupid.
You mentioned
Glass
the first time you
ruined
saw it, Len.
Unbreakable.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I wanted to. I just didn't get to it. But like so many movies. Len, you mentioned when we first saw it, all of us remember that treated comics seriously. And no movie did that at that time.
Talking about
You know,
Unbreakable.
like,
yeah.
Unbreakable. Yeah. So that went a long, long, long way. And luckily, that's not the case anymore with movies.
Yeah, and I have no interest in seeing Old. I did read about it too, so know about the hook of it. And to answer your question, Christopher Goodnight, you may need us to go see it, but that's not going to happen. So you will have to look for someone in your local area or another podcast to provide you the conversations for which you are looking for, because you will not find one here. I'm sorry.
I mean, I want to. Is it streaming or is it only?
No,
it's exclusively in the theaters.
It's in the theaters.
Oh,
in the theaters.
So you may get what you want. In a while. Yeah.
Right. Another letter. This is from Anthony Drago, longtime friend of the show, Far Sector. Hey guys, I wanted to comment on something I found disappointing. No.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's awesome.
I'm kidding.
No, I mean, I wish. No, that's fantastic. Well played. I guess well played, JD. I wanted to give Anthony Drago the credit. I feel burned.
Sorry. Noel mentioned on his recent video how much he enjoyed Far Sector, which reminded me of this. In DC previews, we see that this series is being collected as a trade paperback. I have been looking forward to this collection, and I wanted a nice-looking hardcover. In fact, this art deserves the oversized deluxe hardcover. Joe is a great character from an important creator. This collection deserved better than a trade paperback. Every book from Hill House got a hardcover release, but Far Sector goes straight to trade paperback? Get the F*** out of here. The only thing I can hope is that DC is trying to double dip on its fans and that a deluxe version will come later, but I honestly cannot understand this decision. I am going to wholeheartedly unagrees. Oh goodness. Oh goodness gracious.
No, baby.
I agree. I thought I was waiting for the hardcover on this too. I was really excited for a hardcover, and I was really surprised that it was coming out as a softcover first.
I wasn't. I wasn't. First of all, I don't think you can compare it to the Hill House books. Joe Hill has a baked in, even though he didn't write all of them, he has a baked in audience that expects a hardcover, like outside of comic books. So like those were going to get hardcovers before anything else. Now they're getting a box set because it's going to be easy to like sell to bookstores. But if you look at all of the 12-issue maxi series that they've done over the last like 5 or 6 years, they always have a soft cover first, always. And then like 3 or 4 years later, they get the 12-issue deluxe. So like Mr. Miracle just got a deluxe hardcover. Omega Men got a deluxe hardcover. And then after that, if those sell, they'll do like the absolute version. But no, they just want to get people to buy in first. I'm not surprised. Even White Knight didn't get a deluxe hardcover first, and that sold like the dickens.
I can see that, because to me, and I could be wrong, I think that the hardcover has become more and more for the collector, as opposed to the soft cover is for the person that actually kind of wants to read it. So that makes sense to make the take time to really package out a collector's edition. Yeah. But still, it's quicker to put it together in a soft cover and get it out there. So it makes absolute perfect sense for
anyone that was waiting to read it for it to be collected. Just buy this, because you'll have to wait. Like, first of all, you buying this will ensure that deluxe gets made, and then the sales of it will ensure it. But then also, you shouldn't wait 3 or 4 years to read this story. This book is fantastic. So pick up the $29.99 trade paperback.
Something tells me though that in that regards, because in the world of science fiction and Afrofuturistic stories, M.K. Jemisin is definitely a name. I don't think the hardcover will take that long after the soft cover to come out.
1 year, maybe 2 years.
Probably within a year.
One of the weirder, first of all, DC has Marvel has a specific workflow with how things are collected. It will always be a soft cover first, and then maybe an oversized hardcover for 2 soft cover collected together. And then when a run is over, they'll go to an omnibus. That's it. DC goes left and right, and like if you look at Doomsday Clock, it was a half of the story was hardcover, standard size hardcover, and then the other half was a standard size hardcover, so like issue 7 to 12 in a slipcase. But then they did a soft cover of all 12 of them, and this was like within 6 months of each other. Like they didn't even like let the market breathe to pick a format before they started just like kept coming out with formats. And then I don't know, it's just DC is they do what they want. Some stuff goes directly to Absolute, which is weird. So I don't know.
Yeah, but the only thing I'm going to say, and then let you go, B. The only thing I want to say in regards to DC, what they has happened there that hasn't happened at Marvel is that they have constant turnover of the people that are in charge. So therefore strategies keep getting fucked around with, so that kind of also unfortunately makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think also the hardcovers often come in plastic, right? So if, pardon me, if you're, especially now where collected editions are a way that gets new readers in, you want something that they can look through, right? And then you increase your readership for the eventual hardcover.
That's true.
Later on.
That's a good point.
Like it. Bottom line, best story of last year. Just go get it.
Even better than other history of the DC universe.
Yes,
I enjoyed Far Sector a lot more than other history of the DC universe. That's like saying best movie. Some things feel vital, some things feel enjoyable. Yeah.
And the Far Sector is a story with beats and action and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The history of the DC universe is a biography.
It's an appendices. It's an appendices of events in DC history, but through different perspectives. It's like comparing Schindler's List and I don't know, a great action movie. Like they're totally different things. They're both fantastic. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, let's move on to this week's books. We're going to start off with Amazing Fantasy #1 from Marvel Comics, written and arted by Kare Andrews. Experience these heroes like never before. Red Room Black Widow, Teenage Spider-Man, World War II Captain America. The most iconic versions of your favorite Marvel characters from across time and space all wake up on an island of intrigue, darkness, and ... Amazing fantasy? Are they dead? Are they dreaming? Or have they truly been transported to another fantastic realm? And is there any way for them to return home? This isn't just a love letter to your favorite Marvel eras. It's a reinvestment in the seminal characters you've always loved, plucked from their quintessential timeline. Jesus Christ. Is preteen Black Widow a quintessential timeline version of that character? What?
I mean, I guess it had to happen. You know what? Since the movies came out, I would say it is like an unexplored part of her past. Because did the Red Room even exist before the movies? They probably mentioned it 1 or 2 times. But
absolutely.
Yeah, but to JD's question is that still doesn't mean that that's the quintessential time period in her life. You know what I mean? I would
maybe for her.
Yeah, she was a teenager. I would think she doesn't flip to the good side until she's an adult. So there's a big gap there that seems a little bit more quintessential to me. But it's it's neither here nor there. It's whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just being silly. This is actually a pretty interesting story. I like when characters are plucked from different points in time and thrown together, a la maybe Avengers Forever, even though do not ever go back and try and reread that. I do like that type of story. And I thought this was kind of fun. I think this cover does it a huge disservice. It does not make me want to pick it up. I have no idea what's happening, what's going on. Because of this cover, it makes me actively not want to read this book. I like Kare Andrews quite a bit. He is a very talented digital painter and artist, and the interior art is very good. And I like the way it changes styles in between the different segments. I think that's very cool as well. But yeah, this cover, I know it's a throwback to much older comic books, But yeah, seeing this on the shelf, I would skip right over it and not even give it a second glance. What did you guys think of the story, Noel?
I'll push back on the cover first. It's not really for we're not readers of Conan or Amazing Fantasy, so it's not for us. But this cover, I think, is very much for them.
Who's that?
So the people that read that.
I saw that cover and I was like, "Yo, I'm excited about this comic."
The people that are into like the sword and sorcery, the big fantasy type of things.
Those
comics would have these painted covers. Yeah.
But the book inside is not a Frazetta story. It's a superhero story from people that have been plucked at a time.
But he's got his shield.
Everything in this cover is actually in the story. Oh, little buddy. Everything in this cover is in the story. It's just the style is wild.
Now there's no one to argue against. JD's back.
No, little man. It's fine. Little man is hungry, but the story itself was fine. I thought this was fine. It's as the solicit mentions, taking a bunch of characters, pluck them out of pieces of their I guess they're multiversal versions of the characters too. It's not 616 Spider-Man or Cap or Black Widow, but it was all right. The reveal at the end was kind of like, all right. I wasn't hyper compelled to keep reading beyond issue 1, but it's not because I disliked anything. It was just more like there's other stuff I'd rather read. I'll pop back in 3 issues from now if people are talking about it being amazing. It's pretty much that was my thought of it all. Like it's well done.
It's fun. I would have actually preferred for this to be a bigger issue. I'm fine with it being a mini series, but I would prefer for this to be like maybe a 40-page comics as opposed to 5 20-something page books. I like the art of it, the changing of the styles. I really like the style in the Black Widow section of it. It's pretty dope. I enjoyed it. I didn't buy into the story so much, but I think that maybe collected I might think something different. But it's fun. It's fun to see these people in a different way, from a different perspective. It's interesting though. I'm just looking at one page here that this is supposed to be like a more teenage Spider-Man, and the Spider-Man kind of looks like everyday adult Spider-Man to me. But I mean, that's just a nitpick. But it is it's what it is. It's fun. I actually would have preferred though for them to go wilder, and maybe they will, for them to go wilder onto the fantasy element. This feels like it's still a little tame. It's still like tippy-toeing around it. Yeah. So much so that it feels like what was that Neil Gaiman book from years ago?
1602.
1602.
1602
or 9.
Whatever it was. It feels like it's tiptoeing around what it really wants to be, right?
Oh, I love that comic.
No, I like that comic, but I wanted this because the cover, like to JD's point, is so baked in that old school sort of sorcery. I wanted them to, I'm cool with where they start with, but I wanted to lean into that even further.
I would. I would like, just to double back on the cover. Yeah, I will completely agree. Whether you like the cover or not, it does not articulate the actual tone of the book yet.
I think it's fair once you get to the fantasy. Like once you get there, but I saw the cover and I opened the book and I was like, "Hey, where's the stuff from the cover?"
Even the tone,
not a U-boat.
Even the tone is different. Even when he gets the fantasy stuff, the tone of how
it's
not the same as the sword and sorcery.
Not to think Robert
the cover did kind of make me think it was going to be a brand new fantasy version of these characters, like not the Cap that put into a fantasy world. I will say this about the cover and in the inside. So Cap's indestructible shield has arrows sticking out of it. I can only assume those are suction cup arrows. That
maybe. No, what it is all 3 of them were shot at the same time, and this is right before they bounce off.
Right as they hit the shield.
Yeah, it's right as Have you guys? So to give away the twist at the end, I guess, or at least the reality version, or the reality based on what the characters in the story think. They're all dead.
Yeah.
So this is the afterlife. Which, if that's the case, is anybody familiar with that Mark Miller, Greg Capullo story from a couple years ago, Reborn?
No.
Ever read that? It's pretty good. It's like for a Mark Miller story, it's actually pretty wonderful. But it's essentially when you pass away, you find yourself in this other land that has its own hierarchy. So like the afterlife is actually its own kind of quasi-barbaric, quasi-sci-fi existence where
like
you are searching for your I've never seen that, so I don't
Okay.
But yeah, it's a your afterlife is actually, it's really just like the step to the next place where you're gonna do something else, and this very much felt like that.
Wasn't there recently a Wonder Woman story we read that kind of dealt around?
Wonder Woman is currently in various afterlife, like realms, afterlives.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has been really good. Wonder Woman, I've really been enjoying it. There was a new one out
she's on
last week.
She's on like a isn't she on like a tour of afterlives or her?
Yeah,
pasts?
or two afterlives in a realm. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Two afterlives in a realm.
In a realm.
Sequel to 3 Men and a Baby.
Yes.
But it was a
Much
prequel to 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
I like the art on this a lot. I like Kerry
Yeah.
Andrews. We had seen he had done a creator-owned series several months ago.
Erratic.
Erratic.
Yeah.
That's the same guy.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. It was cool looking.
Yeah.
It was Spider-Man, but instead of webs, it was electric.
Box.
Pretty much.
Was he the guy with the costume that nobody liked, but I thought was cool?
I
Very
hate-
90s,
yes.
like throwback. Yeah.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Got it.
All right.
The final verdict on this book is like it's cool. But I do
wanna
agree
read the
with
rest
Len.
of it.
This would be totally cool if it was like 3 prestige
That's what I said.
It
issues.
feels like a thicker book, right? 100
Yeah,
page.
it does.
Whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah,
so
I'm done with this book. Hi, Shushan. But she was walking behind you. So that's why I said.
That's a perfectly reasonable reason. That's the usual reason.
JD, do you
There
want me
she
to
goes
take this
again.
one?
What?
Do you want me
Yes,
to take this?
one.
Yes.
All right.
Please.
Vamp. The notes are loading.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, then I will vamp because I just saw something this weekend that is not as, I didn't think it is as bad as everybody is making it out to be,
Oh, great.
but it's not good. And that is Space Jam 2.
Oh, okay.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Again, it's Go ahead.
It's not good. It's not good. It's a big jumbled mess.
yes.
And you can almost, I was telling somebody yesterday that you can almost feel them taking the script and giving it to a bunch of writers to punch it up with jokes, and the jokes fall so flat. Every one of them.
Worse than that. Yeah, the jokes are really, really bad. Like they're even bad for dad jokes. The what was it? South Park had a whole episode about how Family Guy episodes are written. It's a big tank of manatees, and there's a bunch of beach balls. And each beach
I
ball
remember
has
that.
like a word on it.
I remember.
And then when the manatee hits a beach ball, that's a plot point or dialogue. This was that, but all the beach balls had some sort of Warner Brothers IP written on it. And they would tell the tank of manatees, like, where does LeBron go now? And it's like, hits the Game of Thrones ball. And then they had to write Game of Thrones in. This whole thing was like a
Game of Thrones was in it?
Everything is referenced. If it's Warner Brothers, it's referenced. It was so, it wasn't cute after a while. It was just like transparent. And it was, I was annoyed. And then the whole climax of the movie is 50 minutes long. Like the basketball game at the end. The basketball game at the end is like 45. Is more than half the movie.
And I tried to watch it like, you know, try to detach my adult self and say, okay, if I was a kid, could I get lost in the, you know, just the cartoon of it all, you know? But I found myself, if I was a kid, I don't think I still would enjoy it, because I think there was just over the top nonsense and I'm for doing computer animated version of the Warner Brothers characters, but you still have to make them look like their characters, which means you still got to cartoon it up. You should not be able to see the fur on Bugs Bunny. I'm sorry.
I thought they looked cool.
I think they could have pulled back on that a little bit.
I thought they looked cool, but I don't think they used them well.
No, well, so, no, like, they didn't use them well at all.
You lost the, like, when they became more real, they became less loony, and that was kind of like the disconnect. But the special effects looked great.
See. Well, to me, when they ultimately decided that they were going to be loony and just like that's how they were going to turn the game around, I would have loved for them to go back to being 2D animation, because that's when they're at the looniest. They didn't really look loony when you can see their.
Yeah, it's not a good movie.
The only one that worked was it just wasn't. It wasn't work. And oh my god, and I can't believe there's not a kid in the world that would cringe at Porky Pig rhyming. Like, that is so 1990s.
Did you like a rap?
Yeah, he did a rap. It's Notorious.
Does he announce his name and what he is there to say?
Yeah, Notorious P.I.G. and I'm here to say, and then he did a whole thing. But I did hear. So I was listening to the film cast, which is now the film cast and not the / film cast anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they had a guest on who did talk about that, and how when he was younger, he loved Porky Pig. Porky Pig is based on a singer or a country singer who had a terrible stutter, but when he was able to sing, lost his stutter. So the whole impetus of that was supposed to be kind of, if you know, like, children that have stutters know that there's a way to communicate, et cetera, et cetera. So he was like, I love that aspect of it, but in the movie, it was just really stupid.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no, that's totally fair.
That's fair, but that's not noted really in the movie.
Not at all.
So I didn't know that was a part of Porky Pig at all. And I mean, I didn't see the movie, but I've seen Looney Tunes a lot.
The affectation is based off of, I swear to God, I don't know who the, bluegrass 1930s singer is, but it's
no, I didn't know he was based off of somebody or anything like that.
The dialogue pattern is, or
he never sings though in the, like, Porky Pig doesn't sing. That they left out the important part of.
But it's the real person has that story, not Porky Pig.
That is the thing, though. People that stutter can often sing without stuttering. Yeah, from what I hear. Yeah, which I think is fascinating. I watched. We will get to this comic. I'm sorry, but I watched Masters of the Universe Revelation. This I did as well.
So, what did you think of it, Noel?
I actually thought it was really, really cool. I thought it was really cool. I don't remember the old show at all. At all. So I love that the first episode gives you everything. It essentially climaxes the whole old show.
Second climax.
The bad guy. The first episode is the climax of the old show. Like, the bad guy gets exactly what he wants. The hero has a pivotal moment, and then the rest of the series is kind of what happens next. And I dug it. I dug it a lot. And then more and more people were complaining about it. I kept watching it. I wasn't going to watch this at all, but because everybody was kind of complaining about it.
Did you have a love of He-Man? I know you said you don't remember it, but I don't remember it that well either, but I loved them.
I had a love of the toys. Okay. But no, I really, really like the show. And have you guys seen it?
Yes.
I've watched the first episode and a piece of the second.
By the fifth episode, the reveal or like the twist at the fifth episode, I legitimately gasped. Ooh. I was like, "What? What the?" Huh? And that was a reaction I was not expecting at all. So I like to me that means it was successful. Yeah.
I will watch the next half. Enjoyed it. Just to go on what I feel is going to be a gradient. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was very cool, but and this is a lot of fault of the marketing and just the reasonable expectations that He-Man would be in it. The marketing did not show that it was this story. The marketing was like, hey, check out He-Man in his return after 30 years. So I understand why people are like, hey, where was He-Man, right? It was a good story, and I enjoyed it, but I was excited. I was excited to see He-Man doing his thing. You know what I mean? And also maybe they should have released it all at once, I think, rather than in 2 parts, and you'd get the full story. Even though I have kind of been enjoying with Marvel, like, things not coming out all at once and getting to be excited about it in between. So that's how I feel. I thought it was awesome. I would have liked a little bit. Len, you don't care about a very minor spoiler, do you?
I don't care about any spoilers.
All right, here we go. Listeners at home or wherever you are.
Wait. Before you do it, I would like to know what Len's opinion is of the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Well, again, I preface this by saying I've only really watched the first episode, and if I think about it, I've watched the second episode as far as it said Netflix presents. So I really haven't watched
riveting.
So but after watching the first episode, I was like, yo, I'm not for this. Because it was very much like the original He-Man, except the animation style was changed.
Way better.
Yeah, the animation style is different. It's different. It's different whole producers, but it was still stupid puns and silly jokes and corny expectations, and I just wasn't. I was like, yo, this is not what I'm tuning in for. Like, I was tuning not necessarily a wholesale reimagining, but maybe a slightly different take, a la Netflix reboot of Voltron. Like, Voltron was one thing back in its day, but the Netflix Voltron is something totally different while still being immersed in that universe. And I loved it. And I was expecting something like that from He-Man. Well, I would have liked something like that from He-Man. I would have.
They did say it was a continuation of the original.
Well, and I understood that. And I did read that. And so that told me that it wasn't going to be a reimagining a la She-Ra, which was a reimagining, a total reimagining of that. So I was like, all right, it's going to be continuing on. And I had actually just spoke with one of the writers. He was on the Michelle mission last week, Mark Bernard. Yeah, very cool dude.
I like him a lot.
So I was looking forward to, I said, all right, let me give it a shot. And I just wasn't with it. Now, no, the way that you summed it up, and it is true, the first episode does kind of like feel like a completion of whatever that original storyline is. So maybe it does go someplace else in the next continuing episode. So maybe I will watch 2 or 3 more episodes to see how it goes.
Because I don't remember that being a big part of it.
It pivots hard. Like there are it's a
so
time
good.
skip. It's characters that are in different like versions of themselves. It's there's like heavy factions of magic versus tech and cults and like
that storyline.
It's a good show.
Pretty cool. And like what Skeletor's henchmen do after the power vacuum, that kind of thing.
It's more than I was expected. It's more than I wanted.
Yeah. I am amazed that, no, I'm not. Of course, sad boys on the internet are angry because there's not a dude in a loincloth and there's a woman instead. Like, fine, okay, you shut up. People get upset halfway through a movie that, oh my God, our main character got killed off in the beginning of the movie. Whatever's going to happen in this movie that's based on that character? Oh, I can't imagine he'll ever return. Shut up.
That would be the first half of a movie, though, right? If you're like, hey, I went to see, a Batman movie and Batman wasn't in the first half.
Yeah.
You could be upset about that.
By the end, he has returned?
Hold on. Here's the thing. So you had mentioned that about the marketing. I saw the marketing also. It's not called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
I understand. Looking back,
wait, hold on.
The twist is revealed.
That's just it. And why would the creators of this show reveal all of the twists and change it? Like, why would they tell us their story?
Yes.
No. This is not to you. This is like the general conversation. this also happened recently with something else, like with a comic, I think, where it's like they didn't bait and switch you. They just not. Oh, or it was with Jordan White, the editor of the X books. He was being asked directly, is Jonathan Hickman writing another monthly after Inferno? Is he writing another monthly after Inferno? Wait and see, guys. I like just know that everything you're gonna be happy with what happens next. And everyone was taking that as Jonathan Hickman's off, guys. He's done. They sold us a bushel of goods that are now spoiled. And it's like, no, the editor just doesn't want to tell you what the end is.
Yeah,
relax.
It's infuriating, the childish response to storytelling that is trying to do something different and trying to explore other avenues of a universe that's a toy commercial. It's just infuriating. The fact that they hold the original He-Man in such high regard. It was a toy commercial designed to get you to buy a bunch of re-sculpts of the same exact toy over and over again with different heads on it.
Like Prince Adam and He-Man look exactly the same with slightly different color scheme.
So I'd like to put a cap on this because
I'm not done.
The next book we're gonna talk about is also a part of this kind of conversation online about how,
My point. All right, sure.
Yeah.
My point is, it's great. You should watch it. That's it. I was really surprised. I had no interest in it because I thought it was going to be another He-Man show, and I don't care about He-Man. And the fact that it's dealing with, but
you can see why people would feel differently, right?
I care about
don't
He-Man.
care about He-Man because it was a toy commercial designed to sell me
Here we go.
different heads on the same body ad nauseum. Battle Cat was even a toy from a different toy line that they just had to sell. They had too many of them, so they created Battle Cat so they could sell us that toy.
Yeah, that's Stephen Root. I didn't realize.
Yeah, Stephen Root is Cringer.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up on He-Man. I had all of the toys. They got me hook, line, and sinker. But as someone who was coming in as a grown man, and this is a cash grab on an old 40-year-old property, I was like, all right, I'll check it out, see how it goes. I like Kevin Smith enough.
It's very well written,
but it's very
too.
good.
It actually is very well written. Like the characters have full arcs in just 5 episodes. It's actually really good. But anybody interested in the longer version of this conversation, John Suntress and Word Balloon actually had Tim Seeley on as a guest. Tim Seeley, comic book creator, Hack Slash, the whole nine, a lot of DC stuff. He was he has done so much Masters of the Universe work, and from encyclopedias, current series, web series. He has been working with Master of the Universe for 20 years. His opinion of all 5 episodes, and they talk it through, and it's actually a really cool conversation because they have a lot of he's known the whole story for the last 2 years because he was helping with all of the making of books that are coming out soon. So it's cool. It was a cool conversation.
No, the minor spoiler was I was hoping we'd see the 2 swords used independently a little bit.
Oh, that would have been pretty dope too. And we might still because the way that everything is kind of
interesting.
And man, all the power in that place, and then how to remove it from that place now, and you've got a maimed act. It was a great ending. If anything, it set up so many possibilities, and I'm super, super excited. I don't have the same visceral dislike for the property that. Not that JD has a visceral dislike. It's just
I don't.
I'm more indifferent. I'm just indifferent. I love He-Man. That's totally cool. Do I know all the ins and outs? No. If it was the same thing, would I be so hyped? No. But then when everybody started saying that it's so different and oh my God, they were being very hyperbolic. I was like, shit, I have to watch this now. And I found myself loving it.
I feel like I've not made myself clear. I don't dislike He-Man. I grew up loving He-Man. I had all of the toys. I was very much into the cartoon and the toys. But as a grown man, looking back, I am able to separate my childhood fascination with a toy commercial and then go, oh, look, they're trying to tell an actual story here. I appreciate that. Thank you, Kevin Smith.
Nice.
Let's move on to Son of Superman, Son of Kal-El. Add to stream. My baby really likes this microphone. He keeps going for it. DC Comics, Tom Taylor, art by John Timms. Jonathan Kent has experienced a lot in his young life. He's fought evil with Robin, Damian Wayne, traveled across galaxies with his Kryptonian grandfather, and lived in the future with a legion of superheroes who were intent on training him for the day his father could no longer be Superman. There is a hole in the Legion's history that prevents John from knowing exactly when that will happen, but all signs point to it being very soon. It's time for the son to wear the cape of his father and continue the never-ending battle as a symbol of hope for his home planet. This is by Tom Taylor, and that is what made me very excited to read this, because he's one of my favorite current writers.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't disappoint. I think this is really solid. I'm behind on the Philip Kennedy Johnson Superman Action Comics storyline that's been going on. I do know that it's been building toward the events of Future State in many ways. And so now we've got Superman, Son of Kal-El, with a throwback cover, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
I like this cover a lot. And then the first thing I do when I open up is Batman 89. I'm very excited about Batman 89 miniseries. I was very excited when I opened that page. I think my only problem with this is the artwork. I'm not a big fan of the artwork. I think it's fine. But this was really good Tyler Superman stuff. What did you guys think?
You say me? I liked it. It's kind of cool. I'm too like you. The art doesn't really 100% sell me, but I enjoyed it well enough. I like this idea. I like this idea of this super, and I guess we are calling him Superman, right? Or we call him, but for all intents and purposes, he's like a super boy. So I like the idea of this super boy being around with Superman. I thought it's pretty cool. I'm buying into any book that has Superman and Batman smiling at each other for a page. I'm buying in. I'm like happy to see that, because Batman does have other fucking emotions, people. So I appreciated that. I too kind of like fell off on. Yeah, there you go. Well, not that Batman, but anyway, I like, I'm a sucker for a cool Lois Lane. This was Lois Lane. It was interesting the way that she was giving her baby, having a baby. I was like, what is this, Strange? Is this Boomer, the movie Boomerang? What's happening here? That's a reference that all my black fans will love.
I got the reference. I saw that in theaters, and I shouldn't have.
So did I too. But it's cool. It's pretty dope. I liked it enough that I would continue reading this. A thing about the art, and I don't know if JD has noticed this, and I noticed this in a couple of books lately, is that when they do Superman, and this is really a nitpick, and not Superboy, but Superman, more often than not, I've noticed they have gone in, whoever, I guess right now I can only assume is editorial, and taken out whatever the artist has drawn as Superman's shield, and they have used their stock footage of what his shield is and manipulated it on the art, and to fit. And I noticed that in another book that we read recently. It may have been a Justice League book. I can't quite remember. And I noticed it on here as well. And just the artist in me that takes me out of the book for a moment. The average person is not going to notice it. But the artist in me, it just it takes me out. And I wonder why they are doing that. Like, are they so beholden that his S has to look precise, or has the artist fucked up the S that much that it's like no, we need to just really do.
Well, they did that with
I was going to say, I feel like
right?
it might be a shortcut. Wayne Boring.
Yeah, I think there was a time. It was either Wayne Boring or Kurt Swan. There was like the Superman artist.
They never did it with Kurt Swan or Wayne Boring. What they used to do with Jack Kirby, and it wasn't about his S, was they used to redo his faces.
No, I thought they used Wayne Boring or Kurt Swan's faces for other artists' work. That's what I meant by use. Wayne Boring. Like
Yeah.
that was what Superman looked like, and they wanted him to look like that.
Yeah, but they weren't reusing it because this was back in the days before computers.
sure.
They would have the artist redraw the face,
all the faces,
and it would piss Jack Kirby off.
Do you think it's like a IP control thing for Warner Brothers? Like it has to be this, like the logo has to be this style, this size. I could totally see that as being some sort of like design nitpick that they want to make consistent.
Yeah, like we want to sell a lot of this.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe, but it just takes me out. But other than that, I like the book.
Brian, what do you think?
I really liked it as well. I have a small nitpick of my own. Well, one thing, I think I like the art actually, and I like his panel work. I think he has when Superman hears the guy that is accidentally causing the fire, like they knock him out. And when he hears that, the panel is like offset in between the two. It's very cool. I like the idea of him going to meet up with Damian. I just like that kind of thing, right? When they go and talk to their superhero friends. That scene in particular is very cool because he's not interfering in the fight Damian is in, and he just gets hit with
versus invasive tests.
That's the thing.
I don't think they're that invasive. You don't think Bruce was supposed to do that? Like,
well, hang on. I mean,
baby,
without permission, running tests on your child is like that's a boundary.
Who else?
He did it without permission. He did it without permission.
That's what she's saying. That's the
joke. Like
he did it without permission.
Right. I just find that hard to believe that he wouldn't have access to that data, like with Clark's request, even, let alone support.
Tower of Babel.
Okay, you're saying you find it hard to believe, but the fact is, as far as the comics go, he didn't. He did it. He did it all on his own, and that's
and that's what Wonder Woman in this comic.
It does.
It does say that. Like it implies that absolutely. She implies that. She's like, you wonder why people have trust issues with you?
Right. She implies it as far as she knows. But that was my read on it. Was like, wait a second, why wouldn't he have done those tests? That was my immediate read on it, and I think he probably would have. Well, that was my take. Anyway, I liked the comic overall. I thought it was really good. I think he's a cool Superman for the time that he will be Superman.
I agree with JD a little bit. So John Timms was the artist on. He took over for Patrick Gleason on Young Justice, so he was working with a lot of these characters there. And the tone of that book was very much this style, and he knocked it out of the park. It was great. But this is supposed to be the introduction of a new Superman. I just feel like maybe it should have had a slightly more mature style. Right?
Mature art-wise?
Yes, mature art-wise.
Oh, see, I thought that was great. I mean,
it's a little... No. I really like it. I really, really like it. But this was supposed to be the launch of a new Superman. So, like, maybe not even a bigger name, just less vibrant and square-jawed and more kind of like Superman, not Young Justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's still a younger.
I'm just upset there wasn't Yvonne Reese.
Actually, yeah, Yvonne Reese would have been a great choice. Like he moved from here to here. This is Superman for the time being. Also, where is Clark? He's not dead. He's off planet or something. Did they talk about that yet?
No, they just did that flashback thing, and he.
Okay.
Oh wait, he's like off at Warworld, right? Or he's about to be on Warworld or something like that.
I don't know. I think the fit that this is a younger Superman, super boy-ish Superman, I think that this art fits it fine. Like I said, it's not the greatest art, but I think it fits it fine. And honestly, if you put Yvonne Reese on here, and I love Yvonne Reese, but you throw him on here, you're just waiting for him to bring back Superman to the book. So you just want to see him do Superman. So I'm fine with them having a more distinct look for this Superman, this younger, sleeker Superman.
And the other so I liked the panel layout. I liked the action a lot. This was just a really, really strong book. The other thing that I really, really enjoyed was the conflict of the issue. Him saving the day, but then it being undermined immediately, and he's powerless to do anything about it. I loved that, and the truth, justice, and a better world as a replacement for the jingoistic Marxist truth, justice, and the American way, which is nothing wrong with that. I think is really, really fascinating for today, and that's what's kind of been a good handful of people on in the community and online are uncomfortable by that. Like, I'm not advocating that Superman needs to start declaring war on other countries, but it is kind of like you're all powerful and we live in a much more complicated world. What can you do about it? And the idea of this young man thinking he could simplistically approach complication is just ripe with conflict and story goodness, and I'm super excited for that.
And I actually thought it was. I'm sorry. I actually thought it was kind of cool, especially after reading, also this week, United States or United whatever's of Captain America.
Captain America, yeah.
Where you're talking about all of these people taking the inspiration from Captain America to try and make a change in their circumstance or in their neighborhood or in their community, right? And then also to then read from this week the untold history of the DC universe and read about Thunder, Anissa Pierce, and why she becomes a hero. And she's like, her being a hero part of trying to cover the things that are, maybe understandably beneath the scope of like the Justice League and things of that nature. So I like the idea of what if someone on the power level of someone in the Justice League or the big guns, but turned their eyes a little bit more inward, like some of the more street level criminals, what that might look like. I'm not saying that this is necessarily going to go there, but I like the idea. That's what this had me leaning towards, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's great, and also they made mention, or Tom Taylor makes mention explicitly that he's also Lois Lane's son, and they seed a potential investigation or mystery, and that makes me more excited than a robot invasion to punch. Right. Like, I love them swerving into kind of that also. This was super strong. It was really well done.
Yeah.
Personally, yeah,
I agree. I also, as JD mentioned the cover earlier, I love that kind of thing, where they do the like homage covers or something like that. Yeah,
I'm glad they did this instead of just the car again.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
because this is a very classic cover as well, and an important Superman cover from Superman #1. So it makes sense for this.
Let's move on to the next book. We are going to talk about Icon and Rocket, Season 1, #1, written from DC Comics, written by Reginald Hudlin, with art by Doug Braithwaite. Long ago, the stranded alien known as Arnis gave up hope of returning to his home planet. Tragically, he'd also realized that his adopted home of Earth was beyond saving. Content to waste away his long life in a human guise, Arnis was past caring until the day a young woman named Raquel Irvin crashed into his life. Soon, she'd convince him to put his incredible power to work again as the heroic Icon and to transform her into his sidekick, Rocket. But an innocent question on Rocket's part, why can't we do something about the drugs on my corner, quickly set a chain of events in motion leading to the pair becoming the most hunted beings on Earth. And they're not just being pursued by Earthlings either. So, what did you, before this, like, who has read Icon and Rocket, or just Icon before in the Milestone days? Because I only read like the first 2 issues. Brian?
I remember. Well, you asked Brian, so I'll let B go. Go ahead, B.
Oh, Brian raised.
Oh no, I raised my hand as.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I read it, but not that extensively because I was pretty young, and that was at like a kind of get what you can from the shelves era of when I got there or what, all number of things. But
it was a book you read, not a book you followed, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, and I just kind of more remember the characters from most of the Milestone universe. I more remember the characters and this one crossover that they did with Superman when he had long hair and you could stick things. They had like stickers of the character, that level of like awareness of them. And then from the show, from Young Justice, Icon and Rocket are on that.
Well, Len, had you read the series or just kind of?
I didn't read the entire series. I read a couple of issues, and I honestly read them when they came out, so I didn't remember a whole lot about them. I remember being interested in them, thinking they were cool. It's cool concept, cool little twist on kind of like the Superman origin as you were with Icon. So it was pretty dope. With the rebooting or reestablishing of the Milestone universe, this was the book that I was the most excited about. So I was actually really excited to read this book. I'm not so much a fan of Reginald Hudlin's writing when I see him in comics. I'm a fan of the man and some of his movie work, but when his comics writing is sometimes like hit or miss with me. But I'm a huge fan of the artist Doug Braithwaite, so I was interested in that. And reading the comic book, I actually thought it was cool. I thought it was a nice little introduction to the origin. For those who maybe, if you buy the book by its cover, you may think you're getting Rocket and Icon right out the box. No, this is definitely Rocket and Icon year one, maybe one, January through June.
It's week one. Yeah.
Right. So you gotta pull back on that a little bit. But in so doing, and despite how I think that the dialogue is maybe a little forced at times, it still was a good book, well paced, good introduction into this universe, kind of like letting you know who these heroes are, not taking for granted that have any idea of who Icon is, who Rocket is, maybe like you've been introduced to them coming back into the sphere more because of Young Justice and stuff. But even then, they don't really tell you who they are. They kind of show up. So this is really truly a distilling of their story, of their origin, of their relationship, and it is a different relationship that you usually see depicted in comics. So I thought it was pretty dope. It was cool.
Yeah, I completely agreed. It was awesome. I was excited about it because I don't know. I always like. Well, he's a Superman analog, right? So I always like that kind of thing. That was cool. I didn't remember that he doesn't just look like that. That they when he crash lands on Earth, they do a genetic reading and he regresses to like an infant form, which I think is a really interesting idea. That the idea is that it will help them because people don't generally attack their own young, and so if you crash land on an alien planet, this will help you out. Now, I don't know. Did he retain all of his like adult awareness throughout his entire life? I don't know what happens with him, and I'm interested to see if they get into it. I like the parallel, which I wasn't expecting, between this and another time that he was convinced to help out. That like in the 20s, there was another friend of his, a woman that convinced him to do something, and he knows it's an uphill battle at best. So that was cool. I'm happy to see the costume has green again in the Milestone Returns #0. I think it was like gray and red yellow only. Yeah, and I like I don't know exactly what they're going to go with because he doesn't show up in costume in this issue.
Right.
But also, I didn't realize Doug Braithwaite did it when he did Universe X, which is one of my favorites. And looking back, I'm like, oh, that's why I love the art. This is great. Yeah.
I agree with you guys for the most part. Like, this was a really strong issue. For a first issue, it should have been a 0 issue. For a first issue, it was all exposition, which is cool. But I still felt wanting, like I wanted more of their conversation, which I guess is a good thing. But yeah, there's sometimes I'll get to the end of a book and I'll be like, I want to keep going. And then there's other times when it's like, I'm going to wait for a couple to add up before I keep going. And this was more that. This wasn't like I can't wait for the next. It's more like I'm gonna hold off and I'll catch it when it's stacked up. Because this was a wonderful 0 issue. This was all origin and groundwork. Even like, you know, Ultimate Spider-Man 1 through 7.
I was just gonna say Ultimate. Yeah.
Those were terrible in issue. Well, they were enjoyable in issue, but it was like the trade is a much better experience because it really gives you the whole thing. It doesn't like hold you off for a month.
It did take him a while to get into that costume.
I'm not kidding. It took 7 issues.
Yeah.
It took 7 issues,
which is 7 months when you're a kid and they're coming out. Yeah.
This was awesome. I do very little about the origin of Icon and Rocket. I really, really love the conflict. I like the idea of it's not just a you know, chiseled old man that she has to convince. He's lived hundreds of years and has experienced hundreds and hundreds of years of humanity's assholery.
And has a thousands of year lifespan before this, and who knows how like all of this planet is like this place. You know, it's fascinating, and I think I will revisit when it's kind of a little bit more meatier chunks. Personally. Well,
I do think, for me, as you know, infamously, or depending on your
send your trade weight,
right. There you go. Like, so I do think that advertising this, and I think it's all of the Milestone books, but I mostly have noticed it on this one, advertising it as Icon and Rocket season 1 definitely lends itself to you waiting for that first season to finish and then checking it out, you know? So that kind of like falls just a fight, inner fight with it, you know.
All of this has been very weird in regards to publication because these were supposed to be digital firsts that were going to get collected later. Like even the Static was supposed to be an OGN, digital. Like they've swapped up the you know, publication style of these Icon books a couple times. So maybe this was supposed to be like small 99-cent chunks on digital, not unlike a lot of those other digital first books where it just like cuts you in the middle, which I think probably would have been more frustrating.
This is much better. I mean, we've noticed before on some of the digital first that we read not as digital first, where it's like this character is half of their body is on the bottom half of the page, and then it's cut out from in the digital first one.
And there has been a lot of.
There has been a lot of, you know, publishing strategy change, I assume, at DC with a lot of management changes. So
yeah. And consistency is not the soup du jour at DC Comics right now. Before we move on to that, it sounds like everybody enjoyed it. Like we'll probably revisit this book again. I liked this more than Static.
I did not like Static at all. I wasn't here for that review. I thought Static was from a totally different place and time, and was poorly executed, even for that time in which it was.
I was expecting to like Static, maybe I'm most familiar with Static, and so I was like, Static, but this one, like, sailed.
This was much stronger.
In terms of quality.
Way stronger. But Static, though, like the first 3/4 of the book were a mess. But I really, really liked the end, the last chunk of the book, the whole fight. I liked that a lot. So I was like,
I'm still laughing about the thing, whatever chemical, I forget who it is, the chemical, Play Alva Chemicals. It is apparently, this chemical they give to the police and is like a crowd deterrent, turns people into superheroes. The police like, hey, can we have some chemicals? They're like, I don't know, take this stuff. We don't want that. Maybe I don't know. Maybe most people.
Let's not relitigate it. We're over on time already. Though. Yeah, it's. So we're gonna push right through. Just a reminder: if you like what we're doing, support the show. Patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo. If you can't donate anything, at the very least, please on YouTube.com. Tell a friend on YouTube.com/CultPopGo or Facebook.com/CultPopPodcasts. Like, comment, subscribe, share, high five. The whole 9. It would greatly appreciate it. It would totally help us out. The next book we're going to talk about, though, is a little bit of a weird one. So sorry in advance. It's called Possessive #1 by Zenescope. We don't really talk much about Zenescope comics, so I thought this might be a good opportunity. Written by Hans Radinoff and Adam F. Goldberg, who I believe that's the same Adam Goldberg of the show creator, The Goldbergs.
Oh, really?
I think so. With art by Eduardo Garcia. Solicitations say this. Let's not mince words. Todd's a loser. He has no job, no prospects, and almost no drive. With his wife ready to take their children and go, Todd buys the family their dream home. Todd takes a chance on a house that needs much more upkeep than a few coats of paint and a new carpet. And little does Todd know, in the attic resides a terrifying and deadly spirit who does not do well with cohabitation. But while this frightening specter may have murderous tendencies, she might just be what Todd needs to turn his life around. Forgetting Sarah Marshall meets The Grudge, and you know you're in for a hell of a ride. Possessive #1.
Solicitation is on the first page of this comic.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. Which I actually think is kind of helpful because a lot of that is not in this comic. So it tells you, like,
especially the cute tone of it. So, like, I hated the experience of this comic, but for some reason, enjoyed it as a whole. And I realized I hated the experience because I fucking hate Todd. He's an idiot, and it was successful because it elicited the right the emotion they were going for from me. Does that make sense? Like, I hated experiencing it because I disliked Todd, which was the goal.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Although, did you come out having read the comic or no?
I'm glad I read it. And knowing, I'm glad I read it. But knowing that, so like in the solicitation, it mentions this is supposed to be kind of the beginning of a slapdash, almost rom-com version, like Forgetting Sarah Marshall meets The Grudge. That is not in this book.
Right.
But knowing that that's where they're going to try to go, it makes me kind of forgive what's missing from this book. Like, they put that right out at the front.
I think it was a really good idea for them to give that synopsis because that is a very unexpected turn. I don't watch a lot of horror movies, but I don't think they normally end up with the villain romantically in the middle of the horror movie. And that, like you said, that doesn't happen here. I found myself like, maybe had it happened, I would have been more interested. There's like no way really that I'm going to keep reading this comic anyway. This is not this is not my kind of comic. But I would have liked to see a little bit of that since I was reading it anyway. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's well illustrated. These fake repairman robbers who apparently still have a business, even though they steal things from all of their clientele. Right.
I do like the conversation, the one-sided conversation on the phone. I was like, don't worry about bad Yelp reviews. Everyone sucks. Like, it's like, well, they got bad Yelp reviews because they're thieves.
Right. And that's all these people did. They were like, they stole my TV. I'm going to leave a bad Yelp review. But yeah, I mean, it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's a dumb comic book. I'm not going to read this. I'm glad I read it because it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I'll say that. However, finishing the book, I too, like Noel, did not like this Todd. Is that his name? He's a jerk. He's a jerk off, and he deserves to get fleeced for all his stuff. He deserves to get his finger bitten off, as he does in this comic, and he deserves whatever else happens. But what he doesn't deserve is my money. So I won't be reading any more of Possessive. The other thing I thought that the tone that they were going for, like you said, no, is not here in the book. Yeah. But I didn't even see any indication that it was leading there. You know, like I was wanting to see like a little wink somewhere that lets you know, like, oh, this is going to go someplace a little left, and it really didn't. And it was
the flippant real estate agent And that's about as close as you get to like,
Yeah, I
hey,
guess
this is a little zany. But yeah, like even a literal wink between the
right.
Ghoul and Todd would have worked.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no it's not inherent enough. You're just, like, they do one thing really well, which is make you dislike Todd. But they don't they don't redeem him at all, which is fine. Because I do think like that's kind of like an old comedian thing too. Like you try and lose the audience intentionally and then you gain them back. So I like that they were going for it with like, I'm going to make you hate Todd and then you're going to be surprised when you care for him. I think that's what they were going for. Just that second part of the equation is not in this issue. Yeah. Maybe it will be, but it's not here.
No,
I just hate him.
And I'm a believer also in like storytelling capability and like mechanics are very important, but so is what you choose to tell a story about. And you know, if I'm like, wow, you really did a well-crafted story about a guy that I didn't like at all and I didn't enjoy reading that. That's not good. Yeah. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not, I wouldn't call that a good book.
You did this so well that I don't want to keep going.
Right, exactly.
Speaking of, did anybody else get a chance to read Vinyl?
Yeah, I read Vinyl.
I read Vinyl.
Did you read both issues?
Yeah. I read it. We talked about the first one. I read it then and
did we?
Liked it more than I thought.
Yeah. We reviewed the first issue, yeah.
Maybe I wasn't here. I'm sorry.
Perhaps I don't remember.
I don't recall.
I
think you were. But who knows?
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the second issue really quickly. By Doug Wagner, Image Comics by Doug Wagner, with art by Daniel Hilliard. Our serial killer Walter has sealed himself in an underground bunker with a sunflower death cult. Now he's being hunted by an insane myriad of husks, sunflower girls, and monsters. Everything the cult can send at him. Good thing Walter didn't come alone. That's right. Walter brought along friends. So this book has turned into a serial killers versus evil cultists.
Right. Yeah.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen serial killers.
And I love it. I hate that I love it, but I love it. This is so weird. Yeah, I love it. I felt the same way about this team's previous book, Plastic.
Oh, you said that. See, you were there because you said that.
Yeah, everything about this book is deplorable, but it's done, or about Plastic was deplorable, but it's done so well. Like they created a scenario where you're almost compelled to root for a serial killer. Okay, and they're doing it again. They're creating this wild scenario where you're forced, as the viewer, you're forced to have to or to root for a team of serial killers now. Like it's very weird, but it's done really well. I liked it a lot. What did you guys think?
I thought it's done very well. It's bonkers. I know I read the first issue, but I don't really remember a lot of it. So it took me like a little bit of like trying to reconnect the dots of what was happening. But it's so fun and imaginative and going someplace where like taking you down the road and then hard left and you're like, oh shit. And then it takes a hard right before you're like, oh fuck. So I'm like, it was fun. It was dumb fun. Again, this is another book that I think that I would even enjoy more in a trade.
Maybe,
but as its own, it's a lot of. It was cool. It's almost, to me, it's like if the team of Invincible did a crazy action, blood splattered horror comic book.
Yeah, it does feel a little Ryan Otley. Or a little Cory Walker, like especially how they handle the gruesome feature or like the gore. It's very almost like Image style.
Right. But it's fun. It's a big dumb fun book. I enjoyed it for the most part.
There's a certain lightness to the art also, which I think really helps move through the book. If this was drawn in an any more realistic way, I don't think I would enjoy it as I do.
That's true.
I agree with that. There's a sick, playful nature with which they sheen everything.
Yeah,
or apply
it looks
everything.
like I haven't read it, but the outside of Ice Cream Man, it's this like externally kind of bright halcyon suburban kind of
Mhm.
feel to it where these things are happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and if this was done by like Liam Sharp, a la,
Yes.
Yeah.
Batman Reptile.
it would be gross and stupid, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
have patience for it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Right.
that they approached this terribleness with kind of almost a bright
Yeah.
glee is it does a lot. It does a lot for
Yeah.
mileage. Yeah.
Because as I said for the last one, like I'm not really into any of the things of this music of this comic, including music and serial killers are not like things that I am super into. Just but I still find myself enjoying reading it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't keep reading it, I don't think, if we weren't reading it for the show. I could see possibly reading a trade, maybe. There's one scene where, so he's recruiting these two twins, and you get a close-up of this, like, circular saw that has blood all over it, and that's the moment where I'm like, oh, yeah, these people, like, hurt people that are not deserving of it, presumably.
It's awful. It's every time that you start to and that's where I'll give the writer Doug Wagner more praise too, because like every time that you get used to these characters or you want to start rooting for them, he will go out of his way to remind you they're awful, so stop it. And then
also they're trying to throw him in jail, right? The FBI guy that he's after. Like, how does that work? Do you guys know? Like, why isn't he already in jail if they know where he is?
They haven't really revealed that yet.
Yeah,
it was a part of a whole undercover thing where they were trying to get him to lead them to someplace, and he was taking those meetings as like, me and my best friend are meeting again. He's like, that I don't like you. He's like, yeah, but you're the closest thing I have to a best friend.
Right.
Hal 2814 said he liked Plastic, so he'll check out Vinyl. This is very, very much in the same tone. Plastic is really fun.
And they're going up against this apparently supernatural villainy, right? Which is probably worse. Maybe not. I don't know. But they're at least not good. It's not like a team of serial killers is going out and you're rooting for the bad guys in the situation. So if you say like Godzilla versus Kong is like, the epitome of monster movie mashups. This is like the mashup of true crime documentaries against each other. You've got murderous cult and serial killers fighting. I think they actually have power, though. What do you guys think? Like they?
I do think it's supernatural.
Yeah. I think it's like, but supernatural in the way that Jason Voorhees is supernatural, right? It's not like Dr.
And you're not gonna be shooting energy blasts at them.
No,
but there is a supernatural element to their existence.
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about so JD's got to open up the shop and I got to go help. So let's talk about the last book, which is no surprise because we've talked about every single one of these issues, and that is The Other History of the DC Universe, number 5 by DC Comics, written by John Ridley with art by Giuseppe Camicoli and Andrea Cucci. Solicitations are: being a superhero runs in Anissa Pierce's family. It's been a part of her life in one way or another since her father, Jefferson Pierce, first started to fight crime as Black Lightning. Despite what her parents tell her, despite what the world tells her, Anissa knows that she has the same calling as her father. But as Anissa takes on the mantle of Thunder, she must grapple with a very different world than the one her father first patrolled. So full disclosure, I read everything but the last 5 pages of this because these are meaty books. Anybody that's reading this in issues, it is a wonderful experience, and we say this every single issue. It's a wonderful experience, but it's also like homework. You have to pay attention and you have to sit and like dedicate time to it. This isn't passive reading like most comics are. So I could see that being like a barrier for some people. Just plow through. Time is my greatest enemy. But everything I read thus far was phenomenal, like it always is. But I liked it even more as a bookend to the first issue because, we started with Jefferson Pierce and his perspective and how hard-headed it was for the most part and his level of and or lack thereof self-reflection. But then the same exact events are mirrored here with
Some of
Anissa.
them, yeah.
Some of them.
You noticed the same page at one time?
Yeah.
That was cool.
And especially the bit with Dwight, his the student. So Jefferson Pierce is a teacher. The student that he saw so much potential in, but was a little soft and wasn't dedicated. So he rode that kid. He pushed him. He pushed him and pushed him and pushed him, and to the point where he got accepted to a magnet school, and he goes and be successful. And yay, and then he sees him again, and the guy was Dwight in adulthood, successful, was flippant with Jefferson, and Jefferson was like, he just didn't understand what I was doing for him. But Dwight's perspective now, 4 issues later, is I was closeted. This homophobic man kept calling me soft, was torturing me for it, and I had to, it got to the point where my mother moved me into a magnet school because I couldn't go there anymore, and I couldn't mentally handle it. And that was such a powerful revelation, especially to Anissa, who is closeted gay and has issues with her father's abandonment. I was like, wow. I don't know, it was so simple, but it still flicked me in the ear hard. I was like, that was wonderful. And that piecing stuff like that together in an anthology series is crazy hard, especially doing it effectively. And then there was a couple of also earmarkers in the other books that were reflected here. Without realizing it, Anissa was the linchpin of all the other issues, save for Montoya, because they all kind of intersect around. Yeah, they all kind of intersect around the Outsiders. They all kind of intersect around Black Lightning, and they overlap in very subtle ways. This was great. What did you guys think?
I thought it was good. I thought this continues along the excellent course that these books have been taking, and this this history, it's not a reimagining, it's not a retelling, it's just another pair of lens look at the DC universe. So I really appreciated it. This book, probably more so than any of the other books, had to do a lot more. It's like we've mentioned earlier before we turned on the cameras. It's a lot more meaty. It's a lot more text in this one, which makes sense because of all of the characters that have been highlighted so far. Anissa's character probably has had the least amount of published works out there. So, a lot of the heavy lifting of her life story is done literally in this book, So that I was fine with that. The artwork, the panel layout continues to be stellar. The story that it tells about someone grappling with their own self-identification, sexuality, how they identify themselves, how they choose to explore that, as well as not just their sexuality, but also their identity as a Black woman, their identity as a hero, their relationship with their parents, being a child of divorce, and what does that look like. I think all of that is explored in this book very, very well, in a detail that does not lose any of its emphasis for sake of trying to put more boom bash in here, which I liked. And with it being like you said, the bookend to the Jefferson Pierce story, it kind of coalesces in the family story of the Pierces as well, because it does bring in the aspects of her sister Jen, who is also a hero, who I thought it was very cool because they don't negate anything from Jen's story as she was depicted in the Justice Society, because she's not depicted as having these same type of issues that Anissa has. So I like, but it's still, there's still enough there that she did have issues that she had to talk about, and this book was able to explore. It's fascinating reading. It's very cool. And I think that its perspective on the DC universe is long overdue, as all of these books is, and it is a DC is to be commended to lending the publishing and the format to these books that is telling these stories of characters that are not household names and giving them the prestige and the shine that they deserve. I loved it.
Okay. Brian?
Yeah, I really
thoughts,
liked it.
Brian?
What's that final thought? I really liked it too. As we mentioned earlier, they reuse one of the pages from Black Lightning's issue where he goes to talk to Dwight, and then he and Anissa have lunch or something at a diner, and they are the same page with some different colors, and there's word balloons at different places, but they're two different perspectives. Now, also, I enjoyed seeing that version of The Outsiders that she was a part of. I thought that was a really cool book at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, it was nice to get to revisit that. I wonder, was Jefferson Pierce homophobic ever, or did he just create that to have a character who was homophobic? You know what I mean? I don't remember.
So it's from the perspective of Dwight.
Sure.
So the reality doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah, well, Dwight and kind of Anissa, who knows him very well.
Okay.
You know,
So-
right.
So I would argue that it doesn't. The reality of his we've already seen his perspective, and he
Right.
never
Well, that's
considered that. However, his actions were interpreted as.
Sure.
So
Oh,
the answer
which
is
a
yes
terrible
and
thing
no.
To have hurt someone without knowing, or even
Yeah.
thinking that you were helping them is
So
yeah,
he,
and plus what this
so
book
he is, but isn't. Yeah.
But to that, what this book does is say is that when she does finally address it with him, he has to reconcile with himself
yeah.
of the certain feelings. So in a way, it's saying that unbeknownst to him, he was a bit homophobic.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah. That's true.
Which I appreciate because, you know, I think this could be true of not a lot, but certainly men in general. But just speaking as a black man, I know that this is true of, I'll say, more than a few black men. I'll put it that way. And I'm being conservative when I say that they are homophobic unbeknownst to themselves. If you ask them, they'd say no. But when you dig in, and you ain't got to dig but so far, you can actually see it. And then it's just a matter of whether or not they're ever called on it or brought to a point where they have to actually deal with it. And this was Jefferson Pierce's moment.
And to the credit of a hero, when he is called on it, does not dig in.
Right.
And that is their coming together moment as a family, which is nice. There's a page here that I hadn't noticed at first, but some of the audience may remember the "don't ask, don't tell" policy of the U.S. military, right? That was a major step at the time, and luckily we have progressed further than that, and it seems regressive at the moment. So that was, you can be in the military if you're gay, just don't mention it, and nobody will ask you, right? And the imagery that I really like here is the Uncle Sam in the three monkey, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil pose, which is, I mean, that could be an iconic rallying image of its own, you know? So I thought that was very cool. We also see at the end, I was like, whoa, hang on a second. We're in the New 52 and Future State, which is not really much to do with the book. I think they just wanted to. We're getting closer to it in time, and they wanted to include all of the different heroes of color that are in that final image.
Right.
So yeah.
The image that I actually enjoyed was the image where she talks about the election of a president in 2004
Mhm.
that is, a president who many may not really enjoy, and because of the whole situation with the Don't Ask, Don't Tell, kind of like that president rides that wave to an election. The image is of George Bush Jr., but the president she's referring to is in the DC universe when they elected Luthor as the president.
Yes, I remember that coinciding.
Right.
Yeah.
So I I dug that. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this book is the way that this book was constructed and the effort and time that they put into it. This is definitely going to be an evergreen kind of seminal piece of DC that you could hand to anyone. Like this could be taught in schools. Like this could be handed over to non-comic fans. This is awesome. This whole thing was awesome.
So, but is this the last issue?
Yeah, I was wondering, is there one more, or this is it?
No,
we don't get
it. Okay.
No,
then it makes even more sense that they would include that.
They've already solicited the hardcover, which I think comes out in like October or something.
Okay.
Oh, that'll be a fun October because that's when Far Sector comes out in a collection.
Also, I think this is a new costume for her on the bottom, and I mean on the last page, and I like it.
I think that's her most recent costume. Yeah.
Like, I mean, has she even appeared in that costume yet? Have we seen her in this era? I don't know. I haven't seen her around, but I don't know.
I don't know, but I will say we should probably wrap up. I have to go help out with the shop.
Right.
And I miss the baby's face.
Excellent.
I miss JD too.
Yeah, little JD, little baby JD. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you guys about comic books. It's my escape time for the last hour and a half, and I missed it the last 2 weeks. So really quickly, remember to like and subscribe and write about us in your diary. Do all that other stuff where you put your first name and our last name in cursive and you pretend to be our friends forever. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our midweek Thunder rounds, which we will start doing again.
Thunder rounds.
I did drop a video about CGC slabbing. I got my first round of graded books back, and I did a video on that. So we're going to do a lot more content like that coming soon now that we're all a little bit more settled. Len, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me any place you find social medias at the Bat Tribble, and you can follow my currently only ongoing podcast, The Me Show Mission, at Me Show Mission on all social medias and YouTube.
Brian?
I'm at BrianLiebDesign.com, and everyone should go there and look at things that I've designed and write me emails about whatever you like.
Anything.
Yeah,
so Saint Saucy, write him anything about the movie Old.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about spoilers. I'm not going to see it, and I already know the twist.
All right, guys. You can find me wherever the social media for CultPop or on Twitter at Mr. Bartocci, MrBartocci. Besides that, we will see you next week. We'll see you on the interwebs. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, put them in the comments and or email us at CultPopPodcast at gmail.com. Why did I?
Sounds right.
Boom, CultPop go
CultPop
at
go.
gmail.com. Good thing I fixed it.
Anyway, I wonder how many emails we got in that time before you.
I know, at least 4,000 or 5,000. Our viewership is through the roof. Anyway, I will talk to you guys next week. I'll talk to the rest of you guys later. Have a wonderful, wonderful day and be safe. Bye.